All right. Hopefully, we have everyone that we should have. Maybe another 30 seconds just to be sure. And we'll start this great webinar, 2 hours hands-on workshop session. That's going to be great. Ali, can you confirm that everything is working on your side as well?
Seems that everything's working. I can see your screen. Please
Perfect.
confirm in the chat, please, or in the Q&A that you hear us well, and that you can see us well too. And we are still waiting. I see the numbers coming up. A lot of people today.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we can
Numbers,
hear you
a
and
lot of
see you. Fantastic.
perfect. Yeah, I can see still I still see people joining the webinar, so we'll wait just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a couple minutes should be enough, but yeah, the number is still rising.
That's great. Okay. We have one raised hand. Oscar, can you use the chat? That was going to be, I'm going to open up the mics later on today. Well, later on during the webinar, but if you could use the chat, I think that's going to be a lot easier.
Hmm.
You see my face, you see Ali's face, but there's two other people uh, making sure that everything works fine. So,
Hmm. And yeah, by the way, Nathan and everyone else, the recording will be posted and we'll send you the link so you can retrieve it, of course.
okay. Okay. So what do you think? We should go? Let's do
Uh,
this.
yeah, let's go.
Perfect. So first thing first, we know that you can hear us. Hopefully you have access to two monitors so you can look at the PowerPoint, what's going on, look at what Ali will be doing, and also do the same thing on your side. If not, I hope your Control tab, Alt tab is will be in use. That's for sure. Um,
Mhm.
Something else I want to make sure is that you have access to the 3D Experience platform, that you created your passport if you had to. And if there's any questions, use the Q&R feature, use the chat. Again, we're lucky to have Ali on the call that will showcase and present and help you with the hands-on session. We also have two other people, Naomi and Marilou, ready to help you out if there's anything. So my name is Mark. I'm based in Montreal, as you can hear. I cover NAM. So if you're in North America and you want to extend this tryout, this hands-on, or if you want to learn more, know more about the solution, I'm your go-to person. And Ali, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Ali Diusi. I'm a Iterop consultant expert, and I'll be hosting the second part of this fantastic evening with you uh, for the technical part and to help you design your first process.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate it. All right, so let's start this thing. All right. We use processes all day, every day, whether it's email processes, Excel processes. We use it to send an expense account. We use for onboarding new employees. We use it to, I don't know, an engineering change order or something like this. So if you could change one process, you can type it in the chat window, in the Q&A window, but I want you to think about one process right now that you would change. I remember not long ago, I had lunch with one of my mentor, and he asked me how was my new job. And the first thing I asked the person was, "What would your first process that you would change?" And the first thing he said was my HR process. So I'm sure you have something in mind. So think about it. We're gonna ask you about it later on. All right. So who wants to be a millionaire? What is Iterop? Is it a standalone application? that runs on premise? Is it a young startup from Toulouse? And obviously, I'm youngish, but is this a young startup? Are we the soul system workflow app in the 3D Experience Cloud, or is this a misspelling? So think about it. Of course, a young startup could have been it, but the real answer is the soul system workflow app in the 3D Experience Cloud, and you'll see about it. Super integrated, super interesting as well. Um, So, what is the objective of creating your first process in less than 2 hours? So, we want the introduction, who we are, that's how it's going to happen. Why adopting business process management? BPM is not only used for beat per minutes, but it's also for business process management. Who we are, Iterop, how can you use it? And you're gonna create your first process with us, with Ali. So that's gonna be very interesting. This is it's a hands-on session. Usually we're used to sitting back, enjoying what's going on the screen, maybe a few clicks, but we want to make this as interactive as possible. If you have questions, if you have something in mind, use the chat. We're there to help. All right. So Iterop, yes, it's a startup that was born 15 years ago in Toulouse, France. We have more than 200,000 worldwide customers. And what's interesting is that we have more than 100 connectors, and we'll talk about that because connectors is fine. We have all the connectors, but we also have access to REST API or web services and all this. You see a little bit of logos. It wouldn't be a presentation if we didn't have logos. So most of you might know who Toyota is, Danone, the yogurt, Thales, Renault. Airbus. So big names, great customers that use Iterop for their daily processes. And we'll talk about the different processes as well. So why is it important to have a BPM solution like Iterop? So there's a lot of benefits, and you'll see about it. But it's super user friendly. It's easy to design. If you know how to draw, if you know how to right click, you're trained. The adoption is, again, super simple because it's easy to use. It's not some kind of software we have to use. I mean, we all been through this. You have an Excel spreadsheet and you need to fill the form, and sometimes you try to print it, sign it. Iterop is easy to use and it's beautiful. So it's going to increase your quality, your performance, your compliances, your sales as well if you use it for sales, and it's going to decrease, and all these, all the blue ones, phone calls, operating costs, complaints, human errors, you using an email, just a reply all. You send an email for a process, you need to check something with procurement or something, and then it becomes a reply all galore, and it's just so all these, you'll know why we're talking about benefits and all this. Now, this is a little bit salesy, this is a little bit business, but you're at the right place. There's a trend. BPM, business process management, it's growing. People want to use it because what we've been doing for many, many years. And sometimes it's taking a PDM system or a PLM system and trying to stretch what it does to make sure that we get people involved in the process. This is it. This is not working anymore. We need a dedicated solution for the business process assessment. And you'll see it's growing. So you're at the right place. Now, a little bit of positioning of what it is, who we are, but why? Why do you need to adopt the business process assessment? Well, it's pretty simple. This is how we do processes right now, and it's not super easy. All the information needs to go to the right person. This is how it works. I mean, you've heard that. The right data to the right people at the right time, but also the right task to the right people at the right time. So on the left is what's happening. A bunch of discussion, a bunch of exchanges, phone calls, emails, wrong files, files on my desktop, uh, renaming files, good version, good final version, V2. This is all wrong. I mean, we've been doing this for years, and I'm not saying, we're not gonna still, we're still gonna do it, but we need to make sure that we flatline the processes that we use daily. Now, what's a process? It looks like this, and it's super simple. So let me show you. So when you create and design your process, you use circles, rectangles, and you use those diamonds. And the diamonds are kind of like revolving doors of your data, of your task. So round or the first circle that you see is an event. It's a start or it's a finish. You see there's a clear circle on your left, and on the right, it is a dark circle. So this is the end. The rectangles are tasks or steps. So we start with an event. We need to ask for an RFQ. We have a form that we fill, and then we send it. And the task might be scheduling in this case. The little clock that you see is a time condition event. Let's say you're asking an external person, a supplier. So you make sure that you use the clock to give a little bit of lead time to that supplier because your task, you'll have notifications, and a task is, lightning quick. But sometimes you want to make sure that you don't get a notification. You want to give some time for the supplier to answer, but you need to make sure you're on top of things. So maybe you're going to use that clock and say, well, remind me in 2 days what's going on with that process. We can have steps that are happening at the same time. You see the blue box, and then shipment, time condition as well to make sure that we create a packaging, customer survey, and voila, it's done. So all these, everything that we're doing with emails and Excel spreadsheets could be designed and used like this. Again, if you have any questions, you don't hesitate. You use the chat box, and we'll answer them as much as possible. So how do we get this into this ecosystem that we all love and use? So we have the 3D experience, the compass. That's simple. We all know this. This is awesome for lack of better words. And then there's a bunch of people using that platform, that ecosystem. So you could have sales, HR, IT, finance, legal, name it, external people as well connecting to the platform. Plus, if we add the stuff that's not part of the ecosystem, it could be an ERP and CRM, it could be external repositories, all of this. What's happening is pretty simple. We could use Iterop to make sure that all of this, all your business ecosystem, they all talk together. Having an ecosystem like the platform, like 3D Experience platform from Dassault is great, but sometimes other departments will use other ecosystem. It could be Microsoft Azure, it could be anything. Let's use Iterop, the business process management tool, to make sure that everyone talks and all the data gets to the right people at the right time and with the right task, obviously. So talking about unification and how we can all have a one big family of ecosystems, this is how it works. Iterop could be at the center of all this, and we can communicate with all these. So we talked about connectors, we talked about REST API. There's ways, and we have the solution to connect with all these. A little bit of AI as well, but that's more to come. So you know who we are, you know why Iterop and what it does. You know what? Who's using Iterop? Let's talk about our customers because this is very interesting. So at Serbayance, it was very important to deploy processes to manage teams without IT support, and that's something else. The last thing I want to do is talk bad about IT department, but they have bigger fish to fry. IT is responsible for our daily use of computer systems and networks and servers and cloud and whatnot. Managing a business process shouldn't be on their list. And that's, Iterop is great for that. You as a department could use Iterop, start drawing circles and rectangles and whatnot to create your process without the use of IT. Of course, it uses the cloud. So as soon as you have your, username and password, you could be using Iterop this afternoon. So that's great. And that's what Surveillance was using it for. ACL. ACL, they used it to increase customer satisfaction. So we talk about the loyalty rate. ACL, Automobile Club de Luxembourg, it's similar to AAA in the United States or CAA in Canada. You have a roadside assistance services, and you wanted to make sure that every time a customer is asking for assistance, it goes through a system and it's easy to use. Iterop is behind this process for them. So a little bit further from what we are doing daily with engineering. This is a customer satisfaction roadside assistant type of process. And Crédit Agricole, which is a bank, um, they wanted to make sure that every time there's a new standard or there's a new definition, think about, I don't know, maybe you've heard about COVID. So COVID brought a bunch of new standards and a bunch of new regulations, and they needed to make sure that it was communicated well to not only internal stakeholders, employees, but also customers. So having a process to make sure that everything is, again, the right data, the right people at the right time, using the right task. This is exactly what they did. And all these, maybe pharmaceutical is a little bit more closer to home, but ACL and Crédit Agricole, the way they use Iterop is absolutely outside of engineering. And that's great. It can start in one department, but it can go beyond this department. So think about it. And how do we see deployment, inside of our customers? So Danone, yogurt, um, this is how they've been using it. You can see in the beginning, it was a little bit more about supply chain, a little bit of sales. And then you can see from 2022 all the way to 2024, all the different departments using Iterop because it's simple. Why should I be using Excel and an email when I could use a process or a BPM a system like Iterop to just send the information to the right people at the right time, having some kind of traceability and history as well. We're going to talk about this later on. And this is us on the right side. You see this chart. This is us at the SO using Iterop. It started very small, 2022, and then you can see monthly how it's growing. This is phenomenal. And it could be exactly the same thing at your company. I love this one. So we talked about it earlier. Airbus, they've been using Iterop for a long time. And the quote is great. Iterop guides users and provides a better quality of service, better communication, and better monitoring of activities. Isn't this what we all want? We've been, you as a department, responsible for the department, you hire people for what they can do. And I don't think I've ever saw on a resume someone saying, I'm very good with replying to emails. Not saying, but just saying. So the flight test feedback was managed by email, making it difficult to keep track and what a high risk of loss of information or wrong address. So again, this is also Sulo, a great customer. They wanted to improve their operating efficiency. Our processes have become faster and we can retrieve all information on past loads in the BPM solution. Traceability, history. Same thing with those tires, Continentals. Working conditions and site productivity improve. Why? Because we invented a new training method adapting the circuit interactively on the production floor. So users on the production floor have access to processes. Isn't that great? And all the benefits. So I'm going to tell you about benefits for these. 5% productivity on production line, and also uh, autonomy time divided by two. 1 month saved. So that's just human time, human interaction. The ROI is great. And I'm going to talk about the ROI later on. All right. You ready for the second round of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Who are the primary personas that benefit most from Iterop BPM? So within the company, is it the IT managers, software engineers? Well, we talked about IT. Is it quality management managers, HR project managers, data scientists and developers, customers with advanced BPM tools? So who's the right target? Well, they all could be the right target. I'm sure IT needs processes for their daily routines. Same thing with data scientists and developers. They need some type of process to get the information, the data in front of the right eyes. Same things with people using BPM tools right now. Maybe they have a BPM tool they think is a BPM tool, but it's actually a PDM tool. But quality managers, HR, project managers, engineering, procurement, those are all departments that could be benefit from Iterop. Now, we're getting there. We're going to get to the hands-on session. Why adopting Iterop? Very simple. So Airbus has divided by number of divided the email exchange numbers by three. I mean, I could use that. I don't know about you, but I could use that. Even though we use Iterop at this so a lot, having less emails is always better to focus on what we're being paid for. Again, answering emails or replying to emails, never seen that on a resume. Danone generate 650% return on investment just because they've been using Iterop. Again, there's some stuff we can delegate, some other we cannot talk about, but we'll tell you more about the ROI things. And Sulo has accelerated its order processing times by 45%. Imagine if it takes 45% less time to get product out the door. That's amazing. I don't know about you, but that, you know, that's amazing. So, a global enterprise adoption or solution, we've been talking about it. We are usually more engineering prone or centric in our approach. But we, as engineers or engineering department, need to work with other people, sales, procurement, uh, shipping, shop floor, manufacturing, consultants, name it. So we are actually talking about global solution. When I joined Iterop, I know it's a lot about me, but the first thing I was so pumped about is that for once we have a solution that I can walk into any of our customers or any company for that matters. And I have a solution for every department, from a receptionist to the trucker that's leaving the docking with a shipment of products. Anyone could use Iterop because we all use processes daily. So Thales, we all know Thales for the defense products that they create. They have seven different business units, over 120,000 users, and they have more than 300 processes deployed. So it started with one. They started with one process, very simple, and it just grew. And again, sorry, we're talking about processes, not our daily task processes. But processes are super important because how many times are we spending on emails and replies and Excel and filling this, signing a piece of paper and giving it to someone else? There's a lot of stuff that we do daily to get things moving. And that's exactly, it starts small, but it grows because it's simple to use. Safran, um, um, the transmission portion of the company, one single platform, private cloud. They use it on their own private cloud, and it just goes through different business units as well. Dassault System, the 3D Experience platform, is we use it daily, just like most of you are doing, and there's a lot of error processes involved as well. OSHA, Process Factory, public cloud for all different department, HR, legal, finance, fraud, ordering, and the way they use it is very very interesting, and it has to do with fraud. and the non-process factory public cloud as well. Super strong IT integration with SAP, DocuSign, and their own homebrew app as well. Now, the reasons that some department might use it. So, homebrewed apps or software is great, but because we focus solely on processes, it cuts the deployment time by 50% at least. We've been talking about this, the right information at the right time. I'm lucky enough to be working with the four people on that call closely. I can text to Ali anytime he's gonna reply. That's awesome. But don't forget, I'm in Montreal, he's in France. So making sure that he knows exactly where we're at with our projects, emails is fine, text messages are fine, but he has a boss, I have a boss. They need to know where we're at. So they need some kind of history, traceability of what's going on with the projects. So the right information, the right people, and not necessarily the two stakeholders, but our managers as well. Um, if you use inside your company any type of AI, we all know ChatGPT, Gemini, Mistral, and all Claude, and all these. You could also be using that. I'm going to talk about this just a little bit because sometimes it can enhance our job. As an example, if you have a customer relation type of thing of service or customer claim, they can fill out a form saying, I bought this item, it's not working as it should, and these are the symptoms. Automatically using AI, we could say, all right, this is like a grade two request. Maybe send information, a PDF of, how to use the product directly saying we are on it. We're gonna look it up, but in the meantime, here's a PDF of the instruction, and all this thing could be done automatically using AI. As an example, faster processes, less error, real-time monitoring, and I'll show you that very soon. And also the ROI. It's phenomenal how we can integrate this solution, draw your processes, start using your processes. And the ROI is not necessarily on how much you paid for this thing, but it's mostly on how much return is going to get you by using it. We've talked about 45% less time to get products out the door. That's the type of ROI we're talking about. Very interesting. So, eight reasons to adopt Iterop. Very simple. We are business process experts. We are The team is customer focused, as you know, as Dassault is, and we are everywhere. Ease of use, you'll see it, you'll feel it, and experience it as well. Not gonna spend too much time on this thing. It's super easy to deploy. It's cloud-based. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to have the latest Windows update or driver for XYZ. It's easy. And then if you know how to draw and right click, well, you got this. Um, There's traceability. We can monitor also what's going on, and I'm going to show that to you. So KPI is super interesting for the KPIs lover on this call. Kaizen, it's a reference tools for continuous improvement, automation. You need to connect X with Y and Z. Get API. We have, connectors. You can use REST API. I'm sorry. We can use web services as well. Super safe. It's this so. Case closed. And the ROI, you know, as soon as you deploy your first um, business process management or your first process, we start small. And I'm telling you, it's the same thing when we started using Microsoft Project. We would have all our Gantt chart, it would beautiful, and we would have, it was just color coded. It was nice. And then we would use a plotter, print it, put it on our wall. As soon as we did that, something changed. It's the same thing with our process. We're going to start small because it works. We know exactly what we want. But then you're going to start thinking, oh, I could be adding this thing. or I could be adding this accept, or I could be sending an email, or I could, and then it grows. And this is ROI as well. You will draw your process as you know them today, but then they will expand. Maybe in other processes, other department, but you're gonna see and feel, and it's going to be very tangible the return you get on your processes. So we're going to talk a little bit about AI as well. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So we have AI use case as Iterop as a solution. We have consultants, we have technical gurus just building those, and the way we use those different AI is phenomenal. Um, it's easy to link because they give access most of those AI, Chat GPT, Llama, Gemini, name it. They all give access to their AI. We can use those codes and we can send information to those AIs to just give us answer. So it's a productivity enhancement. Absolutely, it's easy to collaborate, and it's easy if it's your AI. If you're company is paying for AI, maybe you train your AI with suppliers and lead time and materials and whatnot, then you can easily use that to give you the right information at the right time with the right task. Just a little video to show it. So I don't like that because it's kind of, you're seeing way too much. I wanted that to be my part, but we can have um, start a process, fill the form, and the information will be used through AI, and it's going to be very simple. Now, again, this is exactly what you're going to do. We're not going to talk about AI today, but this is what you're going to build. You're going to build a form. You see all the information right there. This is done by AI. So everything is completed by AI. You don't have to have a human being doing the first few steps, which is great because then we can focus on the more, the 80% Pareto thing. So maybe 80% of those claims could be done automatically using AI, but we're going to focus on the 20% that's going to make a difference. So I'm going to use my time where it's needed, and then the process just keeps going. As simple as that. You're having a little snippet of what the interface looks like. It's super simple. All the text that you're seeing, this is all filled by AI. Nothing has been done by human yet. Well, the process has been done by human in the form, but that's basically it. All right, I want to keep I want to keep going just because I want to make sure that you're still going to be interested in what we're doing. We have a new webinar every 2 months. The next one is on November 6th, so it's next week actually. So it's coming right up. We have novelties, what's new. We're going to talk about native AI features scheduled for 2026. So join in. We're going to send you an email afterwards with all the good links and all the great information. But join in if you want to learn more about Iterop. And now I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. And after that, we're going to take a small break. So bear with me just for a few minutes. So this is it. This is Iterop. If you're used to the 3D experience, and I should have checked, Ali, do we have any questions other than why I speak so funny?
No, not yet. Well, we are having a lot of questions, but they are being answered too, thanks to our amazing team, directly to the ones who asked them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. So you're seeing my interface. This is the 3D experience platform. This is the compass. You're all used to this. Maybe it's your first time. So this is why we asked you in the email before um, this to create your password and all this. But this is what it looks like. It's phenomenal. If your users are not necessarily engineering users, this is what they'll see. It's not too complicated. It almost looks like an Outlook where you have all the information on the left. It's a classic interface and it's beautiful to use. So let's start a new task. We're going to click on new. And what's great is that we can always have all these different processes from our company. They're color coded. It's amazing, but I can always, search for maybe purchase. Well, of course, I have to be. Uh,
Oh,
maybe I've changed something that I
again,
should have
just
changed.
try on the yeah, go again on the new, and you were on the tags, not on the name of the
That's right.
project.
That's why. Okay, so I starting with new. Let's go.
On the right.
Oh, sorry. Okay. You know what? Let's try something else. We're gonna and find out why. This is the amazing thing of doing it live. So let's start a new task right there. See? It's just a matter of refresh. So let's start a new task. You'll see all your processes right here. Yeah, they're color coded. You can filter by tags or you can search for them. But what you can do is simply go and create your favorite. So of course, for today, I'm going to use purchase request and you'll see all the information. See this form? This is all done very rapidly. And I know you want to see, you want to look, what this process looks like. And maybe your users will be exactly the same way. So let's go right here and let's look at the process. So this is what it looks like. We're going to start here, fill all these. These are tasks, remember? And these are um, I call them revolving doors. So you have information, and when they can go and follow the track. So it's like a revolving door. You come in and you can go here or you can go there. So this is gateways to your data, and most of them are done automatically. Tasks can be done by scripts, can be done by humans, or it can be done automatically as well. See, everything, we thought of everything. I'm telling you. And I'm going to stay very high level, but we actually did think of everything. So perfect. So what's my last name? We could always use a menu, and I'm telling you, this is normal behavior for your processes. Sometimes customers go, oh, I didn't want to do this in Excel because it's not easy. Well, it's simple with Iterop. But what's great is that you can also, um, enter the information. I'm going to go my first name. Oh, sorry, my last name is right here. First name, I'm going to go Mark. My email address, very simple. And if you need any information, you can write it down. I'm not gonna have you write down Born of All Sorrow, but just MBO22. You can get in touch with me very rapidly. Description. Well, description, I'm gonna go very simple. You know what? I need to make a metal part machine. It's pretty simple. Product type, it's gonna be a required product. Budget code, all these answers, all these values can be connected to other systems as well. So very interesting. And it's a charge. The amount will be around 4,000 bucks. I could and connect an object from the 3D experience if I needed to, or I can simply select a file and we'll go right here and take this SolidWorks parts, why not? And then validate. As simple as that. Whoops. See,
And
if you're
now,
making, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was saying that you made it on purpose, of course, because as you can see, you wanted to showcase that if you try to type something that's not in the list, so that's not compliant with, I don't know, the company's policy or a list of users that are authorized to make those purchase requests, then you can't go through. So you can't actually fill a purchase request that's not compliant. So it's compliant by design. So it's exactly what you were talking about. And thanks to this little mistake, you showcased it perfectly. So thank you, Mark.
No, my pleasure. I mean, I'm always there for mistakes. You know that. So that's awesome. The system will tell you if something is not right. So you validate the information, and I love this. You will get a notification in your task. You also get a notification into the experience, and you might get an email. So it's very hard to not know what's going on. All right. Now, my task I here, I can come here as always. I can validate this. I can look if I was the person responsible to approve the drawing that needs to be sent for, you know what I'm saying. So I can validate all this. Also, what's interesting, um, we can look at the report. We can manage everything in there. We can agree to this. All the information is right there. So if I'm responsible to answer a task, I will get all the information here very rapidly. We can also go and monitoring. Now, this is very interesting. Maybe you're not someone that's going to approve what's going on. Maybe you're just someone that needs to be on top of things. You're a manager or you're working on a different department, but you have access to monitor what's going on with the processes. Well, we have a list of everything that was launched for those processes. And those all those columns can be managed differently. You can add, remove, filter, and whatnot. We can click on it and we have, what's going on, who started it, who's responsible for what. We have what's going on, but maybe this is the most interesting part of it, is that we see where we at. So we started the process, it can be we can change it if we need it, and we can just go to the next level. So you know exactly what's going on. Very easy. And the monitoring can be done for all the different processes as well. So you might start with one, perfect, but then it might grow and you're going to get access to all these if we give you access. But maybe you need something a little bit more than just monitoring. Maybe you need to be able to, you want to create some type of BI. Well, we also have access to this. So all these processes can be turned into dashboards. And this one is a human resources KPI dashboard. Who took days off, who took their vacations. And sometimes people are like, oh, that's funny. No, it's not funny because people will, burn down because they work way too much. So that's maybe something that you want to look at. And you have all the information available to you. Very interesting. Um, we can maybe go and search for purchase request. And we can look at the information that we have for today or last 2 weeks. So only one request or process was used. Let's look at the entire year. Now, this is interesting. We get a lot more numbers. And this is not a dashboard per se. This is just analytics tools that are used with the process. Everything is in there. But, there's more. We want to know who uses it. Maybe we want to know the details of those tasks. But this is where the money is. Absolutely amazing information right there. So you see, we have the average passages. So we know that they will always start here. But see, these are in percent. So 100% of the time they start. Well, that's a good metric. But sometimes you see they seem to come back way more than 100%. And we see here 18% of the time, and let me maybe zoom in, we need to, ask more question. So 18% of the time, we ask for more question because we don't have all the info. And if we go with time, see, most of the processes will be holding up here for 19 minutes. That's a lot of time. Maybe there's something to be done here. But I just wanted to show you this because I think this is great. Let's go and design or redesign the same process because having to go back 18% of the time to ask for more info, that's probably not good. But it's great to know. but it's probably not good. So if we go into design, so when you get the solution, the Iterop solution, you have the player, which is what I showed you here. This is, what your users will have. You don't have to worry about anything. Their process is right here, and they want to ask for a vacation time. They want to ask for an RFQ. They want to ask for something. They can use the processes. Simple to use, nothing to worry about. What I've showed you right here with Watch, this is maybe a little bit more advanced. This is if you need to have some kind of business intelligence, some KPIs, and you need the dashboard to present the information to a higher manager. This is interesting, but again, not open to everyone. And this design portion of the tool is the people that will create the processes. So sometimes maybe not every colleagues or employees or users will be designers, but maybe just a bunch. Maybe five will be designers. So at least someone can take some vacation time if needed. And for all the BI stuff, maybe you'll have one in your company or two. That's rule of thumb, basically. So let's go and try to find our process right here. So again, purchase. You'll see right there. And this is all the information that we have. Everything is in there. We don't have to worry about it. And the interface is so simple, it's not scary. I say this, it might be funny, but we've all experienced interfaces where there are so many buttons and we didn't know where we at. This is very interesting. So you know who can start this process, everyone involved, and this is where the money is. We get a little view of this. We can download the diagram if we need to, of the process, if we need to show into PowerPoint or something like this. You can see how long they keep the information. So all the information will be retained for years. So it's perfect for traceability and history. You see all the different versions that were done and why they were changed. So it's beautiful. But right here, this is the meat around the bone. We can stop the process if there's something going on. We can stop the process. We can go and look at that documentation. If someone needs to document this for ISO certification reasons or an audit, or you need to document, well, you have all the information right there. This is your interface or your form. This is your process. You see exactly what's going on at what time. So everything is there. It's absolutely a documentation. We can update or branch the process. We can duplicate the process. Everything is in there. In our case, I'm going to duplicate it because I want to optimize it maybe. So I'm going to say improved. I'm not going to say enhance, just improve. So I'm duplicating the process. So everything that the process has will be duplicated. It's very simple like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and design a little something. So this is what we were telling you about. You can start drawing, adding anything in there if you need to. All the information is right here. Very simple. In my case, what I want to do is I want to go back into my form. So this is the start of it. And you see, when you click on something, you get all the information needed. So configure the form. And I'm going to be very simple. It's going to be very simple, but it's going to be, I think, brilliant. So we have all the information right here. And in description right there, we're missing something. So I'm going to see be as explicit as possible. Material, uh, size, weight, etc. So that's all I'm doing. Very simple. I click OK. You see the form has been updated, and voila. I'm going to deploy this. So by deploying this first version with description, we keeping a trace of everything we've been doing. Deployment has been successful. I can absolutely go back into my play. Oh, I'm sorry, right here. I'm gonna go new. Same thing I did earlier. I'm gonna go purchase. Oh, improved. Ali, did I mistake?
No, maybe
What did
just
I
a
do?
little refresh again and should do the job.
Oh, okay. You know what I'm gonna do? I know exactly what I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
Yeah, I should maybe wait a little bit. I'm too hyped for this. So we're gonna so this is the improved purchase right here. All the information, everything has stayed. So I'm gonna start from the design aspect of thing. The only thing I want to show you is that in the description, the little box that I have a little warning that says exactly what I need to do. So instead of you know trying to create something that is going to change all the processes because I have 18% of the time I need to ask for more, I'm just going to have the description box show that we need to be as explicit as possible. Okay.
Yeah, either try refresh, maybe it should.
Yeah, I'll try that. Might
But
be my Montreal internet connection that's acting up.
your network seems slow, but
Yeah. Okay. Improve purchase request. So I'm in play. So play is for the users using the process. And you'll see right here in my description, be as explicit as possible, material, size, weight, etc. As simple as that. And I absolutely believe that this will help me reduce the 18% of time that we need to ask for more. So when
mhm.
we're talking about having an ROI that's so big, because it's easy like this to change. As simple as that. So this is what the users are seeing. They can start the process. They don't have to worry about anything. This is what the designers, the process designers will see. And it's very simple to use. All the information is right here. Not everyone will be using the designer, of course, only those that are responsible. And it doesn't have to be IT, as we mentioned before. And also, all the necessary BI information can also be available through a process watcher if you want. So that's basically it. In a nutshell, this is what Iterop is. This is what it can do for your business. Ali, if you allow me, we'll take a short break. What do you say?
Yeah, sure, of course. So maybe let's say until 11,
Yeah,
uh, American
perfect.
time. Yes, or 4 p.m. here in France.
Yeah, it's going to be 11 in 5 minutes. So
Yes. Five
let's
minute
take
short
five.
break.
Yeah. And when we come back, it's going to be the hands-on session. Ali will show you exactly how to get going with this. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. More than happy to answer them. That's take
Thank
five.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm gonna wait a few more seconds just in case some of you are still away. So can you still hear me correctly and see me
Absolutely.
too? Okay, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen too so you can tell me if everything's
Perfect.
right.
There you go.
Okay,
I can see your screen, my friend.
amazing. Okay, and as Naomi told you in the chat, please check that you have the link to the right environment. To check that, you should have on the top right corner this name right here, just below your own name. And next to this, check that you are in the right app, Iterop Business Process Design. If not, you have on the top left corner the compass, this logo right here, from where you can click and access the right app. Again, we are on Business Process Designer, and the app is Business Process Design. So this is where I need you to go to design your first process, and I really can't wait to teach you how to use this tool. Okay, so again, check right here that you're in the right environment. If not, you have the link in the chat. And then check that you're in the right app, which you can access from here, the logo on the top left corner. You can either click here on Business Process Designer and find Business Process Design, or directly search for it like this, Business Process Design, and you'll have it here in your apps. Okay, if you can't find this exact page right here, please let us know in the chat. It's normal if you do not have as many processes as I do. Just check that you are in the right environment and the right app. Okay. Okay, so I don't see problems in the chat except maybe
No,
just one or two, and you'll get some help.
yeah, I
So
think you're good, Ali.
let's okay, let's go. So if you're here on the business process design app, you can find here the left menu from which you can access the models. The models here, you can click on it. It's where we are going to design our draft processes. This is where we're going to start working on our new process. So go in the models, and we are going to build together a first small process to demonstrate quickly Iterop's capabilities. So you should have now on the right, top right corner, a button to create a new model. Okay, so please click on it. By the way, if I'm going too fast, or if you're missing something, or if something's unclear, please let me know in the chat. We have more than enough time to go through everything as slowly as you need.
So just to, I want to make sure the models
Mhm.
we're talking about are mostly templates. So they can be draft, they can be, but a model will be your template that you will then deploy for user to use.
Exactly. So now you have the choice for the name. So please just enter something that will help you find it more easily. So for example, start by typing your first name or a login or whatever helps you find it more easily. So I just assume I'm the only one named Ali here, and I'm going to name it document validation. Okay, so we're going to build together a small process to validate or ask for the validation of a document. And when you're done, you can create a new model. So what you're looking at now is a blank page where you can start drawing your process using the BPMN, which is the norm, international norm that we're using to represent our processes in Iterop. As I said, it's an international norm, so you will find a lot of documentation everywhere else on the web. And it also means that it's compatible with other applications that use the same norm. Okay, so it's not specific to Iterop. And this norm is based on graphical elements that you can see here on the left bar. So as Mark perfectly said it before, you have different shapes, basically, each shape representing a type of element. So the round ones are events. You have a start event that you already have by default right here. You have intermediate events and end events. Okay, whenever you want to use one of these symbols, you just have to click on it and place it wherever you want. Okay, you don't even need to drag and drop it. And whenever you want to link two elements to start drawing your process, you can just click on the first one, find the arrow right here, click on it, and click on the second element. And now you've linked your two elements. If you want to delete one of them, you have the remove button right here. Now, diamond shapes are gateways. This will allow you to say that when you reach one of them, you have a choice or a decision that is made that will tell you whether you are going, for example, above or below, depending on a condition. And depending on the type of gateway, you can go either on, you can either follow one path or both, or multiple paths, depending on the type of gateway. We're going to see this more in detail later. And finally, the rectangles are the tasks, so the different steps of your processes. In the same way that the gateways can be of different types, as we're going to see, the tasks can also be of different types, mainly human tasks. So this means that it's assigned to a human being, or service tasks. This means that it's performed automatically by, I don't know, a service, an API. So this means that you're connecting Iterop to another app of the platform, or a CRM, ERP, or an AI agent, whatever. You also have script tasks, because even if it's a low-code, no-code app, you can still go further and have something that is very advanced if you know a little bit of code, and you can boost your process this way. And finally, you have call activities to organize your processes, and call sub-processes, and have a kind of architecture where you have parent processes, child processes, etc. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with this blank page. You should all have only this one element. Let me know if it's not zoomed enough. I can zoom in. And we are going to put a first step. So I'm going to click on create a user task and place it right after the start event. And as I told you, I can click on the start event, click on the arrow, and click on the task. So this way, I know that just after my start form, where I will deposit my document, I will directly go to a step of validation. To indicate that this is a validation step, or to give it a name simply, you can double click on it and it will allow you to rename it. So let's call it validate. the document. It can be a good practice to start with an action verb, but it's not mandatory. Ultimately, the clearer the better. Now, when I finished this validate the document step, a choice will be made, right? Whether the document is validated or not, something will impact the next steps of the process. So I'm going to use a gateway. So let's click on the diamond shape and place it right after the first task. Let's link it. Okay, and now let's build three possibilities. My validator here, either they refuse the document, which means that it's an immediate end of the process. So let's just take the create end event right here and place it below. Be careful, it's the thick circle here, not the first one. Let's click on my gateway, the arrow, and the end event. To make this representation clearer, I can also double click on my arrow to rename it too. So let's say that this path right here is the path of a refused document. Okay, always try to make your process or your diagram here as clear as possible. The other option, of course, is to validate the document. So it's also an end of the process, but it's a different one. So let's do exactly the same thing. And this time, let's rename this path validated document. Okay. And the third option would be, of course, to ask for modifications of the document before deciding whether I want to validate it or refuse it. So it means that I need to go back to the requester. Often here I have uh, my trainees trying to take here the gateway and trying to link it directly to the start event to go back to the beginning. But unfortunately, this is something that is forbidden in the norm. So if you want to go back, you need to create a new task, which will be dedicated to the modification of the document. So I clicked here on a new task, which I will call modify the document. Click on the gateway, click on the task, and here we are. How were you able to name the arrow sequence? Exactly, whenever you want to rename an element, no matter what it is, you just need to double click on it. So for an arrow, double click. Even the gateway, you can rename it here. For example, decision. Okay. Same thing for the tasks. And here, my path, my arrow here, I'm gonna name it uh, modify the document. And also you can move your elements at any given time just by dragging and dropping them wherever you need. So take as much space as you need. Do not condense everything. Okay. Until now, everything's fine. Let me know, by the way, if anything's wrong. Now, after the modification, I would like to go back to the validation now that my document is modified and compliant. So again, there is the first reflex, the first idea that comes to mind would be to click on modify the document, click on the arrow, right? And directly go back to the validate the document step. Well, this would work, but it's not a good practice because ideally what I would need to have is one arrow coming in of my task and one arrow coming out. Always one entry and one output. So to do so, I can just use a gateway, place it just right here between my start event and my task. By the way, as you can see, whenever you place an element directly on a path, it adapts and it inserts it perfectly. And now that I have my gateway here, I can link my task to it. And this way, I use the gateway to regroup my path into one so that I always have one input, one output on my tasks. Again, you can try to move your elements for a better start. Okay, now technically I have a good and working process, but I want to add some automation just for some added value. It costs nothing, so let's add something to help me deal with emails, for example, that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to take a user task right here, and I'm going to place it in this part. So I'm going to make more space again, just so you can see well. Refused documents. Okay, so I inserted it directly in this path. Check that you have one flow coming in, one flow coming out this way. And I'm going to name it by double clicking automatic refusal email, for example, but you can name it whatever you wish. And now this, of course, I don't want it to be a human task. I don't want someone to perform this manually. So I'm going to click on the task. And here I want you to find this blue icon so you can change the type of the task and make it a service task. Again, service tasks are the ones that allow you to add automatic connections or automatic actions in your process. So this is a service task. Check that you have the gear icon on the top left. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the validation to send a validation email. By the way, you can just click on one element and you have the keyboard shortcuts, just like with the text, so you can copy and paste whatever element that you already have or group of elements. You have here a small cheat sheet for the available shortcuts. And this time it's a approval email, right? Okay, please check that you all have the same diagram here. Okay, let me know if you missed something or if you want me to explain something further. Okay, no questions. Let's continue. Once this is done, click right here on the big green button that's called Validate and Configure. Okay, everyone, check that you are now in a new interface with colors this time, mainly red, but we're going to turn this green. So until now, what you had was only a drawing, basically. So wasn't worth more than a piece of paper. But now we are going to add intelligence, to add forms, to configure the automatic emails, and you're going to see that it's not that difficult. Anyone can do it and understand what's going on here. So let's have a look more in details. Let's start from the beginning. Okay, so let's click on the start event, and you should have a panel on the right that was open. And now you can configure the form. So this means that you will configure the start form, the entry point of your process, and determine what are the fields that are necessary to start this document validation process. So let's click on configure the form. Now here you can add new fields to your start form. I see that there are one or a few questions. We're going to go back to them later. I'm just going to finish this first step right here. So what are the necessary fields that I need for this document validation starting form? I'm going to add these with the plus button on the left. As you can see, it's called add a variable. Basically, a variable is nothing more than a field in your forms. You can name it here in the first field. So of course, the first thing that I'm going to add is the document to validate, right? And here the data type is not a text field. I want to be able to put a file. So in the data type, you can scroll down and find the file option. As you can see, there are lots of different types of possible fields. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can explore them and try them and see what they look like. So here it's a file, and I'm going to make it mandatory. Otherwise, I know that some people will forget it and we go through a lot of modification requests, losing time. So just by clicking this, you can save a lot of time and make your process more efficient. You can also add a description to explain what is expected. And you have each time advanced options that will allow you to configure more stuff. Here, the only interesting one is whether you want a single file here or if you want to allow your users to put multiple files directly in the same field. Okay, let's skip the single file. I'm just going to add a single other field just so you can see something else. So let's add another variable here. That is going to be the email of the requester so that we can send them automatically a validation email or refusal email. So here you can ask them to type in their email. And just keep it a text field, okay? And make it mandatory. Again, you have advanced options. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the interesting one here is that you can turn a text field into a specific format expected, which is email, so that you ensure that whatever is typed here is a valid email. Okay, check that you have these two fields, the document to validate, which is a file type, and the email address, which is a text field. Okay, at least that the advanced options are not mandatory. Just check that you have these two fields. And when you're done, click on OK. So I have a question in the chat asking me how to turn a human task into a service task. So this will allow me to show you how you can switch between the configuration panel to the modelization panel. So you can switch at any given time thanks to the big button on the left. Okay, and here we are back to the drawing interface where I can just click on a regular task, a human task, find the blue icon to change the type, click on it, and turn it into a service task. Okay, you can just take any human task, click on it, change type, service task. And here we are. And when I'm done, I can go back to the configuration. Another very interesting question that just popped, is it possible to make a link with objects from other Dassault System brand? Absolutely, this is an available field. It's just like any other field, just like a file, an email. You can add, for example, I don't know, a 3D part. And as you can see in the data types, if you scroll at the very bottom here, you have 3D experience type, which allows you to search for a given object of the platform coming from any other app. As you can see, you can also filter them on a specific type of object. Here, for example, a 3D part. Okay.
I think this is great because we had a question from Eric.
Yeah.
And I might have added to this confusion because when I first used the process, I used a SOLIDWORKS part and I added it to the process, which we should try not to do as much as possible. We don't want to recreate a parallel
Mhm.
world for this file. So what
Mhm.
Eric is asking in the chat is it possible to make a link? And that's exactly it. We should be able to link to
Mhm.
files and not necessarily add them to processes. So thank you, Eric. I owe you one.
Thank you thank you, Mark. Okay, let's continue if everything's good. Let's see how the configuration of a human task looks like. So let's click first on the validate the document. Okay, now you can see that I have a few more fields to configure. The first one being the assignments. Of course, I didn't have this in the beginning because whoever triggers the process will be the assignee. But here I have to define who is responsible for performing the task. So let's click on assign. Okay, and here you can see that there are different types of assignments. We're going just to see the easiest one, the most common one, but I'm going to explain rapidly or all the other ones. So here you have the internal assignments. So this means that this task is assigned to someone belonging to your organization. There's someone that has a license, an Iterop license, whether it's a group of people or an individual. But here, as you can see, you have the possibility to assign a task of your process to an external assignee. This means that you can assign tasks to your partners, your customers, your suppliers, whoever is involved in the process. No matter if they have a license or not, you can send them tasks so they can be stakeholders of your process. And automatic ones very quickly just says that you can also assign a task uh, to an agent, an API agent, something, a service, no matter which one. Okay, so let's just keep the first option right here. And the good practice is to assign your tasks always to groups. Okay, even if it's one specific person in that group that's dedicated to this task, it's better to assign to a group so that if the person leaves uh, whatever you can easily change the assignee. You can also use the dynamic assignment to go retrieve actors of the process. Okay, so this is what I'm going to ask you to do. So click on the add button and you will have the option to assign the initiator of the process. Why? Just so that you can test the whole process by yourself, okay? This will automatically assign the task to you. So this will allow you to perform both the start form and the validation so you can test all of the process by yourself. But of course, in reality, you will assign a validators group, for example. Okay, so initiator of the process. I'm gonna do it again. So it's like this. You click on the add button and keep the first option and click on OK. You can also choose to notify the assignee whenever the task is open. Okay, so you can just check the box if you wish. And then you will have to choose which information you want to give them or grant them access to so that they can perform the task. So you can choose the data and you can choose among all the available data in your process to choose which one are the more relevant to the assignee. Okay, for example, here, they don't really need the email of the requester. The only thing that they need is the document to validate. So again, it's really at the core of Iterop to really send the right information to the right people at the right moment. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So just select the document to validate and you can just drag and drop it in the square here and click on OK. Now for the form, it's basically like the start form. You can go to edit and configure what fields are needed. So let's add the most important one here with the plus, which will be the decision of the validator. So again, you can name it how you wish, whatever is clearer for you. I'm just going to name it do you validate the document? And we're going to choose another data type that we've not seen yet, which is the list of values. The list of values will allow you to choose between multiple possibilities that you can specify right here. Of course, here I'm choosing a customized list, but you can have your own business tables in another part of the application where you have, for example, your list of countries, list of suppliers, or something else that you want to be or able to choose among. So here the possible values will be yes, no, and ask for a modification. Okay, again, I'm choosing a list of values, and here in the possible values, I'm typing yes, no, and ask for modification separated by line break. You can see at any given time what it will look like, okay, on the left. If you're not sure, you can check. And here, a small consideration for the user experience. You can display the advanced options. And here in the options, you can choose the type of drop-down list. And I'm just going to choose the last one, which is radio, so that I can display all the options directly without having to click first on the drop down and then choose I'm saving and click. It's always good for the user experience. And also you can go back and make it mandatory, of course. Is it okay? I have a question in the meantime. Why do we have two models, configure and model? Is there any way to make them a single environment? as it will help ease the creation of the model and configure at the same time. This is a good remark. And I don't want to spoil you, but we're going to work starting 2026 on a new design environment. And if you're finding that this is already easy to use and user-friendly, then just wait for a couple years and you're gonna see that it's going to be even easier and more user-friendly to use. We're just starting the works on a new interface, and I think we will join the two to make only one interface, and there will be a lot of improvements in the design part too. Okay, now what I want to add here, just to show you that forms can be dynamic too, I'm going to add another field to specify which modification do I want to make in the document. So I'm going to add a new field that I'm going to call modification to make. Okay. I'm going to give myself some space to write, to type. So block of text will give me this ability. I'm going to make it mandatory too. But of course, I don't want to display it all the time. Of course, if I click yes or no, I don't want to specify the modifications to make. It's only whenever I click on ask for a modification that I want to display this. So I have the possibility, if I click on modifications to make, and if I scroll down a little bit in the advanced options, to specify a display condition. If I click on edit right here, I have the possibility to specify when do I want to display this field, the modifications to make field. And this display, I can configure it this way. I first choose the field on which I'm going to base this decision. So I'm going to base it on the task validate the document, and more specifically on the field, do you validate the document? And I want this field to be equal to ask for a modification. Okay? So I will display modifications to make when do you validate the document is equal to ask for a modification. Pretty simple, right? And I click on OK. Let me know if you need me to re-explain this. Otherwise, you can just click on OK. Now let's see the gateway because it's very similar to what we've just seen. So here, this is what we call an exclusive OR gateway or XOR gateway. Why is it called like this? It's because here I'm making an exclusive decision. It's either A or B or C. Never less, never more. There are other gateways. Some of them are parallel, which means that I'm going to A and B and C, and I'm not going to go through all of the possible gateways. Again, you can find a lot of information, and we're going to send you a memo too about the BPMN. So here the exclusive gateway is perfectly suited. So let's configure all the possibilities. So I have three possible paths, so three conditions. When do I go to the automatic approval email? I can edit this and say that I'm going to the automatic approval email when in my validate the document task, in my do you validate the document field, I have selected So equal, yes. When the validation is yes, I'm going to approval email. Okay. Same thing for modify the document. It's whenever in my validate the document task, in the do you validate the document field, I have selected ask for modification and okay. And now you see that it's green, which means that it's enough for the gateway to work, because if it's neither yes nor ask for a modification, then by default it means that it's refused. So you can still configure it, of course, if you want, but it will work without this configuration. Now let's see the modify the document task. It's very similar to the other human task. Let's go through the assignment again. So assign. Let's keep an internal assignment and use the dynamic assignment. And here we're going to assign again to the initiator of the process so that you will be assigned yourself and you'll be able to test it by yourself from the beginning to the end. And click on OK. I can enable a notification if I want to. And in the information to display, I'm going to choose the data. And I'm going to display the document that I first put, just as a reminder. And of course, the modifications that I need to make on this document. And be careful here, do not drag and drop it in the same field, but in a different one. Okay, so check that you have the first bubble in the first square and the second bubble in the second square. Okay, it should look like this. If you made a mistake, you can erase and start again. And click on OK when you're done. Now in the form, let's configure it. There is a small twist right here. Okay, I do not want to create new fields again. I want to retrieve the fields that I completed the first time as a requester to be able to just modify them. So this is why we're going to use the second button right here, which is to import a variable. Again, a variable is nothing more than a field. So let's click on import and go look for my initial fields, which were in the start. And let's make the requester able to just modify their documents. And that's it. Let's not give them the right to modify their email. It would be useless. So just select the document to validate. As you can see, normally you should have this chain icon right here on the right telling you that this is an imported variable. So it will come with its value, so with the document that you put in the beginning. And you just have to click on OK. Okay, so we're almost done. We only have to configure our automatic emails. So let's do the first one for the approval. So I'm going to click on automatic approval email. I just need to choose the service. And here you have a lot of choice, but we can search on this search bar on the very right for mail, and you can choose the first one. So here we are in a staging environment. So there are a lot of different services. A lot of people have already configured their own services. And as you can see, some people have already configured their own mail template. So that's also something you can do. You can either choose the default mail template, which we are going to do, but you can also go to the service part with this, again, the gear icon, and configure your own templates, your own services, your own connections. And as you can see, you just have to do it once, and then you can use them in any other process. Now that I chose the mail service, it tells me that I have to select or to fill a few fields, the basic ones for an email, which are the recipient, the subject, the message, at least. So the recipients is going to be very easy because I already asked for the email of the requester. So I just have to drag and drop this field directly in the recipient field. Now the subject, I want to type in directly a fixed subject because it's always going to be an automatic approval email. So I just need to go to the settings, keep the fixed option, click on OK, and just type your document has been approved and click on OK. Now for the message, so for the body of the email, I want something that's between these two. I want to have a part that's fixed, but also have something that's dynamic, that comes from the process. So I can just drag and drop options as such. As you can see, other than the variables or the fields from the process, you also have a few functions here to allow you to perform some scripting without having to know how to script. Let me show you how. Let's say that I want to retrieve the first name of my requester. I did not ask for it in the form, but I can still retrieve it using the first and last name of an actor bubble here. So let's drag and drop this purple bubble here, and let's go to the settings. Keep the default suggestion here, Joel. It only means that you will type something that's dynamic and go in OK. And here now I have the possibility to both type some fixed text to say, for example, hello, because I'm always going to say hello, space, and then click on the first last name here that I selected and just select the process initiator, so the requester. This way, it has automatically typed the line of code, allowing me to automatically retrieve the full name of the actor of the start task. So basically, I'm retrieving the full name of the requester without having to ask them. So comma, and then I can just type the rest of my email. Your document has been approved. Okay, and just click on OK. You can add attachments, for example, the documents that you put in the beginning or whatever you want to. So recipients, just drag and drop the email address. The subject is just have to go to the settings, go to the fixed option and type whatever you want. And the message, you need to drag and drop this little function right here that will help you, the settings, to retrieve dynamically the name of the requester. And click on OK. Now, same thing for the refusal email. I'm going to go a little bit faster, but it's exactly the same thing. Mail, select mail, choose the data, drag and drop the email address for the subject, keep fixed, type your document has been refused. drag and drop the first last name of an actor function in the message, go to the settings, keep the dual option, click on OK, and type whatever you want to type. Click on this orange bubble, select the process initiator, and keep writing. Okay, and okay. And that's it. It's been less than an hour, and we already have our first process with automatisms, with forms, with gateways, with everything that you need for a process to run. As I told you, everything's green, so it's ready to send, so to deploy and make available to your users. So congratulations, everyone. Click on deploy. You can add a release note, say that this is the first version. Click on OK, and it should be successful. Okay, congrats, everyone. I'm going to show you where you can retrieve it, how to test it very quickly. And I'm going to go through a little bit because we have a few more minutes to go through this. But first, let me know if you have questions, if you need me to go through something that I went through too fast in the design before I explain to you a few options that you have. No questions? It's okay. We can always go back to them later, and also you have the recording in case. So here, very quickly, you can add tags to ease the retrieval of your process. You can change the owner. Everything's pretty explicit. You have the roles. It's very important to define these roles here, saying who can trigger this process. Okay, you can choose a group, say that this is a process for the sales team. You don't have one. Maybe just in French, doesn't matter. For this group, they have the initiation rights. Who can supervise the process in the monitoring, as Mark showed you before, and who has a controlling right. You can also configure triggers. This is more advanced, but just keep in mind that you can also configure something that will allow you to automatically start a process whenever something happens in the platform, for example. So you can say that if something is posted in a community, then you will trigger a process. These actions, very quickly, you can indeed suspend the process if something's going wrong and you don't want to allow people to launch new processes. You have an automatically generated documentation that will always be up to date without you having to write it yourself. And you can find everything you need in this documentation. You can update the process at any given time to improve it. Duplicate the model, create a copy. Okay, if you want to share it with someone else or if you find inspiration in another process. Export it if you want to export and import it in another environment, in another tenant, whatever. Create KPIs and delete. You have the diagram here that you can download. You can configure the retention period of your data. This is a new feature. This is very impressive. You can configure different languages for your process. So this means that a same process can exist in different languages based on the preferences of your users. So you can have the same process running in French, English, Spanish, whatever. Your version history will tell you here what modifications you made and when, and all the events that happened. Now, if you want to test it, you can either directly from here go to play or retrieve the play app from the compass. It's called like this because you can find your way directly from here. So you can go to business process player and find the play app. But remember that you can switch from play to design and to design to play at the bottom here. You can go to your processes and find it. Fortunately, I'm indeed the only one called Ali. So I have only my document validation here. I can click on it. Configure an identifier, choose a file, PDF, enter my email address, start my process, and as I assigned myself to all the tasks, I will be able to check all of them. So here to validate the document task, check the PDF, uh, here it is. Let's open in another window. Say that I want to validate it, not validate it, and check that if I ask for a modification, I have a dynamic field that opens to ask for modifications. And in that case, I go back to the modification. I'm able to change it, put another one, finish, and validate. Okay, I have a small question. Let's say that will be one of the lasts. Where can I easily find all the documents I uploaded? Is there a list or do I have to open each item? In the monitoring right here, if you have the supervision right, you can retrieve the document validation process, select all the processes, and you can configure your monitoring view right here using this small panel where you can select the fields that you want to check. So if I select here the document to validate, I have the possibility to check the document for each instance. Here I have only one process launched, but imagine that we can have like this multiple instances, only have one, with all the documents that I uploaded.
Ali, if you allow
Okay,
me to reshare my screen if you're done,
of course. Thank
thank
you,
you.
everyone, and congrats
Thank
for
you,
your
Ali.
process. Go
So,
one mark.
thank you very much, friend. So, we've asked you in the beginning of this presentation if you had one process to change, which one would it be? And I was just curious to see or hear if you have time to write in the chat if you thought of other processes. With that said, we're going to be in touch with you. We're going to be sending you an email very shortly with the links, the recording. Feel free to reply directly to those emails if you want to ask more questions or get into more details or any other thing that might be BPM or Iterop related. And I want to thank you for joining this call. It's 2 hours. Hopefully, you learned a lot. Hopefully, it triggered some questions in your mind and you're going to talk with your colleagues. Thank you so much for joining us. And on behalf of Ali, Naomi, and Marilou, thank you very, very much. And we'll get in touch. We'll get in touch very soon. Thank you.